Are you the friend who's always being asked for health advice? Now imagine turning that passion into a fulfilling career with our Become a Nutrition Coach program. Step into a world where your enthusiasm for wellness becomes the heart of your own thriving business. With me as your professor and guide and coach on our user-friendly digital platform, you can learn from anywhere at your very own pace. It's perfect for your busy life. Envision empowering others to live their healthiest lives, all while growing a career you love. You're not just gaining a certification here, you're joining a community of like-minded professionals ready to support and celebrate with you every step of the way. So what are you waiting for? It's time to nourish your future and help change lives, including your own. Head over to nutritiouslife.com/BNC for a free class and a sneak peek of the program. Your journey to becoming a nutrition coach begins now. How much do you like chocolate chip cookies? If you know me, you know I love them. I'm Keri Glassman, your host of Living a Nutritious Life, and today I'm joined by Addison from Sweet Addison's Baked Goods. And I get to talk about chocolate chip cookies in this podcast today, and it's our 50th episode, so what better way to celebrate than with cookies? Addison has a truly inspiring journey. Addison went through a health crisis that ended up shaping her and transforming her life, leading her to create delicious, gluten-free, dairy-free, and refined sugar-free cookies. I'm not giving away what happened in her journey because you have to listen, but it is truly remarkable how this woman changed her life and did a total 180 in health and career. Addison's story is a testament to resilience and innovation. So listen in, you don't want to miss this story. And as always, please rate, review, and share if you love the podcast. Welcome to Living a Nutritious Life. I'm Keri Glassman, a celebrity registered dietitian nutritionist. Join me every Tuesday on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms as I bring in some heavy hitters to share the latest in nutrition and wellness science. We dive deep into food, sleep, stress, relationships, and so much more. Your weekly guide to a happier, healthier, more nutritious life. Hey, Addison, welcome to the Living a Nutritious Life podcast. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Thank you, Keri. I'm so excited to be here.
First of all, I just want to tell everyone that when I met Addison, she was so kind. I'm just jumping right in with this. Addison was so kind to bring with her delicious chocolate chip cookies, which we're going to talk about later in the podcast. But I just have to tell you, Addison, I think I maybe messaged you after, but just in case, I just have to tell you that cookie that you brought me that day that I met you in New York was the most insanely delicious cookie I've had. And everyone here knows that I am a cookie connoisseur. My favorite indulgence is a chocolate chip. One of my favorite indulgences is a chocolate chip cookie. And I know probably the best chocolate chip cookies in New York City. I've probably tasted almost every single one. I love my chocolate chip cookies. And I was obsessed with that cookie. I actually couldn't believe how good it tasted because it also was in a package. So I was like, oh, this is packaged. It was probably made a little while. I don't even know when it was made compared to, when you give it to, but it's in a little package. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, this looks pretty good. I was blown away. Okay, so I'm just teasing. I'm going to tease the episode with that because I don't actually want to start there with what's in it and all the delicious ingredients. We're going to get back to that, but I just had to tell you how much I enjoyed that chocolate chip cookie.
That is the biggest compliment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you made my chocolate chip cookie dreams come true that day. I was really happy. Anyway, okay. Just had to tell you that. Thank you so much again for that cookie. Anyway, but let's go back before we get into those ingredients in the cookies. Let's go back to, I really want to start with your story. I love, you have a really interesting story of being a college athlete, which I too was a college athlete. So I know we connected on that when we chatted. So, and that really plays into how you ended up being this successful entrepreneur right now. And I'd love you to go back and sort of share that story with everyone, because I think it's an interesting, unique journey. And I love asking people about their journeys, especially when it leads them on this, really interesting, winding path.
Yes, absolutely. It has led me on a path that I never expected, which is crazy. I never in a million years thought I'd be an entrepreneur. I'm pretty risk averse and I like to play by the rules typically. So being this entrepreneur is totally outside my comfort zone. But I was a
But by
division.
the way, that's really interesting though, just off the bat, because I think so many entrepreneurs like have a certain, like it's in them, it's in their blood. I always say like, it's in me. I just feel like it's not like I planned on being that, but I think it was in my blood that's who I was. So it's really interesting. And I have so many character traits, I think, of an entrepreneur. So it's interesting that you see yourself as having sort of like some of these opposite character traits.
Right. I would say deep down, now that I'm an entrepreneur, it makes sense. But I never
Okay.
really, growing up, both my parents worked in finance. So I never really had an example of an entrepreneur in my life. So it really wasn't a viable option for me. I just thought
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to follow in my parents' footsteps and go into finance and get that paycheck every other Friday, live a very nice, comfortable life, 9 to 5. I thought for sure that's what I was doing. So when I was in college, I was a Division 1 soccer player at the University of Maine, and I was a math major. So my whole life goal was I'm going to become an actuary and I'm going to make good money, live a very nice life, and that's that. And have a job that I like, but nothing that I'm super passionate about. So I graduated college and still had all this competitive energy. And I said, let's run a marathon because now I have so much more time. I'm in the best shape of my life. Let's do it now. And as I started training for this marathon, I would notice that once I hit about the 3 mile mark, I would start to get this tingly feeling in my feet, almost like your foot is falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And the tingly sensation would work its way up my legs. And if I kept running, my legs would lose all feeling as I was running. It was very confusing at first because I'd never really had an injury my whole life, honestly. And I didn't understand why this was happening. I just graduated from college, thought I was
Mm-hmm.
in the best shape of my life, and just wanted to run. So I started to check out different natural ways to heal it. I started doing more yoga, stretching. I did the compression socks. I changed my sneakers. I tied my shoes too tight. I tied them too loose. I tried everything and nothing worked. So then I went to see a sports specialist doctor, and he said, you have what's called compartment syndrome, which
Mm-hmm.
is a blood circulation and inflammation issue. Basically, the muscle fibers that surround the muscles in my legs, they never expand to allow for that extra blood flow. So the blood flow gets cut off and my legs go numb. So I remember distinctly sitting in his office at 22 years old, and he said to me, you have two choices. You can either quit running forever because you're doing permanent nerve damage, or you can get a fasciotomy on both of your legs, where we go in and make incisions in those muscle fibers to allow them
What?
to expand. And I'm thinking, wait a second, you want me to get surgery because my legs go numb? And he said, yes. And you have two options with the surgery. You can get both legs done at the same time and be in a wheelchair for 6 months, or you can get one done at a time and be on crutches and out of all exercise for 12 months.
Wait, this is and you're thinking to yourself, I was just a Division 1 athlete and nothing happened. I didn't get injured. I've just been playing a Division 1 sport and running around a field for all these years. How could this be?
I was shocked. I was like, this can't be my life. I'm so young. I'm healthy. I'm in shape. I've never had
Right.
anything happen. And so I said to him, I don't choose either. I'm just going to keep running. I don't care if I'm doing damage. I was stubborn, whatever. So the next week, I was training with my aunt for this marathon. And she said, I'm gluten free because it helps with digestion and headaches and stuff. And maybe you should just try becoming gluten free. And I said, well, that has nothing to do with my legs going numb, but maybe I should just try it. I'm so desperate to feel normal at this point.
Right.
So the following Monday morning, I quit gluten cold turkey. And I remember my first trip to the grocery store. I was like, what do I buy? And how do I read these labels? And what am I actually putting into my body? And I was reading these nutrition facts thinking, for my entire life, I've had no idea what I'm putting into my body. That is a
Interesting.
terrifying
Yeah.
thought.
Wait,
So
so can I stop you there for one sec? Because I'm curious, what were you Like, what was your diet like at that point?
It was very convenient. So
Okay.
I was eating in college, I was eating McDonald's at least once a week. Again, being a D1 athlete, you have no free time. So
Mm-hmm.
it was easy. It was right on the way
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
campus. So I was eating that. I have always been a big meat eater. So dinner is always some sort of meat and usually potato.
Mm-hmm.
I eat a lot of fruit, but there
Mm-hmm.
was the pizza and the fried chicken and the hamburgers with the bun. And so
Right.
I was eating gluten on a regular basis, but I will say I don't eat as much gluten as the average person does. But
Right.
I
Yeah,
was
no, I'm just curious, like what else your diet was like. Like, again, how much gluten was in there, how much packaged processed foods. Like, I mean, you had just graduated college, you were young, you probably weren't, unless you were focused on it, you're not focused on it, right? So,
which is crazy. I think back to college and what I would eat for breakfast. Sometimes it would be Dunkin' Donuts drive-through. I'd get a donut and hash browns. Like it was not good.
okay.
So suddenly I
Okay. So,
become
yep.
gluten-free and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, oh my, like my eyes were open to what goes into our food.
Mm-hmm.
So I adopt this gluten-free lifestyle and within 3 days I could run again normally. I mean,
That is mind blowing.
mind blow. I was like, wait a second, maybe this is a fluke. Let's try again the next day. Perfectly fine. Let's try again the next day. Perfectly fine. And I went back to my doctor about a month later for a month checkup. And I said to him, I've solved it. I became gluten free. And he laughed and he said, well, that has nothing to do with your running and your numbness and the compartment syndrome.
That's
He said,
maddening to
it's
hear
going to
that.
come back. He said, it's probably just a fluke. These symptoms are going to come back. And I said, you wanted me to get surgery? Like, no, thank you. Goodbye.
Right. And not only that, it's not like, oh, well, like it's not like like your change was so minor in the sense like all you did was just tweak your diet and what he wanted you to do was so extreme that you would have been on crutches for a year out of not exercising for a year. That would have made you so much less healthy. So it's
Right.
like it's so incredible the vast difference of like what I'm just my mind is blown honestly thinking about that you have if you had been someone else you could have just said wow okay I guess I have this problem and I have to go have surgery and like you could have ended up down this completely other road and then in a wheelchair eating unhealthy foods not even considering your diet getting more and more unhealthy like I'm so happy for you that you thought to yourself, this doesn't make sense. And I'm so happy that you also said, and I'm going to keep moving my body. Like intuitively, you knew that not moving your body was not the answer. So you continue to move your body and work out and meet your aunt to go in for a training run. And then and thankfully she suggested that. But it's like, it's just, it upsets me so much that like sometimes just that answer of, surgery, medication, and again, I am not against when you need to have surgery. I'm not against when you need pharma, but it's really mind blowing that that was the answer, and that
It,
no one and that only your thankfully your aunt suggested it. Wow.
Right. So I guess the entrepreneur in me back then, even before I was an entrepreneur, said, I'm going to do this my own way. Right. I'm
Right.
not going to listen to him.
Right.
I'm going
So maybe you are more of an entrepreneur than you think.
to deep down. It makes sense now. At the time, I never thought so. So 8 months after my doctor said you might never run normally again, I crossed the finish line of the DC marathon and it just ignited this passion in me. And I went down this rabbit hole of researching compartment syndrome and celiac disease and gluten-free. And all that while I was working in finance and I was just very unfulfilled. And as my passion for health and wellness and being gluten free grew, I thought, well, I don't love my day job. Why don't I start an Instagram account where I start posting about
Mm-hmm.
becoming gluten free and running and training and just
Mm-hmm.
living your best life? So I started Organically Addison on Instagram. And that now has a couple 100,000 followers. I built up this gluten free community that I'm really proud of. And in December of 2023, I posted this 25 days of Christmas cookie series where each day in December leading up to Christmas that year, I posted a different cookie recipe and it went viral. And I started getting messages from people all over the country saying, will you ship these to me? And I thought, well, there's an idea. So what I did was I spent the bulk of 2023 and 2024 getting ready to launch my business, Sweet Addisons, where I ship gluten-free, dairy-free, refined sugar-free desserts all over the country. So looking back, it's like, I guess it makes sense that I'm an entrepreneur, but I never really signed up for this entrepreneur gig and thought, I'm going to own a business. I'm going to quit my job in finance and just go for it. It kind of happened naturally given my
Which is great. It happened organically. It happened organically. I love it. Okay, wait. So I do want to go back again to where you all of a sudden, you cure yourself by going gluten-free. So did you dive in hardcore then with like getting just so much healthier, taking out not just gluten, but other unhealthy packaged processed foods? Like what was the transformation there?
So I'm kind of an all or nothing person. I like to go all in. So I thought if I'm doing this gluten-free thing, I'm going to read every ingredient label. And I
Right.
almost adopted like a Whole30 type of approach
Mm-hmm.
or a paleo approach. So for a while I was also dairy free.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just buying gluten-free desserts, again, I've always been a baker. I've loved to bake my whole life. I thought I need to now make all of my favorite recipes with gluten-free flour. So it was a
Mm-hmm.
fun experiment in the kitchen for sure, making all these gluten-free desserts, but it was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I was looking at the options at the grocery store for gluten-free desserts, and it was like a sugar bomb. And it's just a
Right.
ton of sugar to make it taste more normal. So
Yeah,
that all
and there's often a lot of unhealthy chemicals added too. There's like
right,
unhealthy ingredients that they add just to like keep the consistency a certain way, to keep the freshness and all of that. So I think it can be even harder. I mean, I think for people, and I always talk about this, when you're going gluten free, for the most part, you're eating foods that are naturally gluten free, right? You're
yeah,
not having foods that have a gluten alternative, because oftentimes those packaged foods in the grocery store are just, you just swap one thing for something else. You swap one unhealthy thing or something that's not working for you for something else that's not necessarily healthy for you. So that's why I think like how you do your cookies, which again we're going to get into, are so incredible because they're not that. They are packaged, you can have them sent wherever, but they don't have those unhealthy added ingredients just so they can call themselves gluten free, which I think is again a problem with a lot of the packaged processed foods out there.
right. So when I became gluten-free at the start, I kind of gave myself this guideline to go by. When I was reading these nutrition labels, if there was anything that I didn't know what it was or couldn't pronounce, then I wouldn't buy that product.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I still live by that, is if there's an ingredient in a food and I don't know where it comes from, I can't say the word, then to me, that's not really food and I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
consume that. So I always tell people that if you can find foods that don't have a nutrition label, then even better.
Absolutely. Yeah,
For
exactly.
veggies,
For the most part, your diet should be comprised of foods that don't have any packaging or label. Absolutely. We all know that that's not possible to do 100%.
mhm,
But when you do have packages, as few ingredients as possible, and best to know what those are. There are some ingredients out there. I have to say, there are some ingredients out there that people like think of as being unhealthy and aren't necessarily as unhealthy as they think. But those are far and few between. For the most part, you should know what every single ingredient means, and you should be eating as few packaged processed foods as possible, right?
agree.
So, okay, so continue with your turn. I love your story. I just think it's
Oh,
so inspiring, and I also want to go back to something else, because I think there's probably people out there that are wondering about compartment syndrome. You explain what that is, but can you talk a little bit about, because I'm sure you've dove into it, the connection between that and being gluten free, and why that helped you?
sure. So gluten in everybody is inflammatory. So it causes inflammation. And I look back at pictures of myself when I was eating gluten, like my face was puffy. I was carrying around a lot of extra water weight. But the funny thing about gluten is the allergy can show up in different ways in different people. So I know some people have had migraines and it gets solved by going gluten free, or they have digestion issues. And I've never suffered with any sort of digestive issues, but I used to get really bad headaches as well, which have since gone away since becoming gluten
Mm-hmm.
free. So because of the inflammation that was uh, due to the gluten that I was consuming, that led to the compartment syndrome. And that's kind of just how my body alerted me that there was something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
which I think it's so, so important to listen to our bodies. Like our bodies are telling us something. And whether
Yeah.
that's in the form of migraines or it's acne or something, there's always a root cause. And I always tell people, let's not treat the problem. Let's try to find what caused the
Oh,
problem.
absolutely. Yeah.
Root
Yeah.
cause. So a couple of years ago, I was having really bad acne breakouts, and I was actually listening to a podcast, and they were talking about the link between white sugar and disrupting women's hormones. And I thought, well, I'm baking all the time and using white sugar. Maybe I should switch to unrefined sugars like coconut sugar, maple syrup, honey, date sugar. And so I actually don't eat white sugar at all anymore. And within a couple months, my skin had completely cleared up. And I thought, well, I've been spending all this money on this expensive dermatologist and all these creams and lotions, and I wasn't actually treating the root problem. I was, treating what it did to me. So I would just really encourage people, like, find out what's causing the issue and treat that rather than just trying to put a Band-Aid on it.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So let's continue on with the cookie story here, because obviously I've already said how delicious they are. So, okay. So you did your cookie baking challenge. People asked you to ship the cookies. And all of a sudden light bulb goes off and you say, ooh, I want to do this. And then you take it the next couple of years to really figure out how you're going to launch your business, So what did that look like? What was that journey like, figuring that out? And then what has happened since then?
So the biggest and most important decision I made was to go for it. I
Mhm.
said, this is scary. I'm putting my name on something. It could epically fail. I could have zero customers. I could waste time and money, but I'm going to do it anyway. So that was the biggest and most important decision. And that's, I think, the entrepreneur in me saying,
Totally.
even if I fail, I'd rather go for it and say I tried than to never try at all.
Oh, absolutely. It's fail, 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 succeed, fail, 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 succeed. I was actually just interviewing someone else and we were having a similar conversation about that there's always the difference with being an entrepreneur and being successful and not is just that you continued failing until you succeed, right? Or so, I mean, and sometimes maybe it's succeed and there's little fails in between and there's, little fails along the way and then there's a big succeed and then maybe there's a big fail and then little successes. But the point is you just keep going and you keep going and you expect that failures are part of the journey, right? But you have to have that attitude and you have to have that mindset. You can't worry about the fail part.
Totally. Yes. So then I decided, okay, the first product I want to launch is the chocolate chip cookie, right? It's classic. Everybody knows it, loves it. So I spent about 4 months recipe testing to get the final version. So it started off with what type of gluten-free flour do I want to use and what type of sugar? Those are the two biggest decisions for
Right.
me. And because I don't eat white sugar, I thought I'm not going to put white sugar in these. I really want a truly clean ingredient, better for you cookie that still tastes like an indulgent dessert.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided on organic coconut sugar for the sweetener, which I personally love. And
Mm-hmm.
then my favorite flour to work with is almond flour. So I had those two ingredients. And then I thought, well, what do I want to do for the baking fat? Do I want to make them vegan or do I want to include eggs? So I went through all these different iterations of cookies. And that was about August 2023 to December of 2023. And then I finally landed on the recipe. And so
And you use olive oil, right?
I do.
I remember
Yes.
seeing, yeah, which I love.
I love
I love olive oil in a chocolate chip cookie. I love
me
that.
too.
I
It's a little
absolutely love that.
unexpected, but
It
it
is unexpected and it just works. And I actually remember when I saw when you first gave that to me and then I looked at the ingredients, I remember seeing the olive oil and thinking to myself, ooh, this is gonna be good.
yeah.
Because I have had chocolate chip cookies olive oil before and I love that. But your combo, however you do it, it just nails it. But okay, sorry, continue on with how you came up with the formula.
So it was just a lot of recipe testing. I had all these different iterations of the recipe all around my apartment. So it was like iteration 1, 2, 3, and I got up to 26 different recipe iterations before the 26th one was the favorite. And
So
so
cool.
I finalized this right before Christmas one year, 2023. And so I made like 25 of these, brought them home for Christmas, and I had everyone in my family, extended family, try one. Now, the only other person in my family who's gluten-free is my aunt, who I was running with. And so I thought, I have people here who are eating the standard American diet. And if they
Right.
like these cookies, then I know I've got a winner. So I gave everybody a cookie. We did a taste test. I filmed the whole thing. Everybody loved them. And I thought, okay, I'm going to hit the ground running in January 2024. And that's what I did. So it was a lot of Googling things, looking things up on YouTube, finding mentors, asking people for help.
Hmm.
I had no idea how to start a food brand and how you can like legally ship things around the country. So I had a lot of research to do. And it's just been at one big learning curve. But I can truly say it's been the single most rewarding thing I've ever done. It's also the
Amazing.
hardest thing. I mean, this puts marathon training to shame. This is way harder,
Oh,
way
absolutely. Absolutely.
all day, every day, and there's no finish line, so to speak.
Oh,
So
no,
it's not a
not at all.
6 month training and then you're done and you can go out and celebrate. No, no, no. This is like every day for years.
Oh, yeah. And waking up in the middle of the night, heart palpitations, worried about something, mind, spinning, thinking about 10 other things. I mean, it's a lot. It's a
It
lot
is.
having your own business.
It is, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I personally can't imagine going back to finance now. I'm just so passionate about what I do and I also love that there's no growth ceiling. Like this can be as big or as small as I
Absolutely.
want it to be and I'm not working on building somebody else's dream anymore. It's now my dream. So I think deep down I've always been an entrepreneur. It just took this crazy weird health journey to bring it out of me.
Oh, it's so inspiring. It's incredible. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that, about what you were saying in terms of you had a lot of things to learn about, like, well, how do I ship these cookies? How do I do that? Because they're like, again, I'm going back to the one that you gave me. It was in the package. So how did you figure out how can I make these that, fresh, get them into this package, ship them so that they still arrive fresh for someone? Like how that's a whole process in and of itself. And how did you figure that out? And how did you actually bake all of these cookies? Because I know there was a time, I don't know where you are now in this journey, but I know there was a time where you were in the kitchen doing all the baking.
Yes. So when it came to shipping, what I did was I bought these little bags off Amazon just to do a test with it, and I sent the first one of the first few batches to my best friend in California and then to my parents in Maine. So shipping from Texas, I wanted to see if it reached the West Coast okay and the East Coast okay, and both arrived successfully. They loved them. And so I thought, let's just do it.
Amazing.
Honestly, I think as an entrepreneur, you cannot wait for everything to be perfect before
Yeah.
you go. You have to start.
It's so funny. I again just referencing another interview I was just doing. I said that exact same thing. I said I think one of the things that you really have to be okay with when you're an entrepreneur is if you're a type A perfectionist person, you have to get over that because you have to know you have to be able to just keep moving forward even when things aren't perfect. You can't wait. If you wait for every little thing to be perfect, then yeah, I mean you're not going to keep moving. And you have to be able to keep moving, and moving is better than just moving imperfectly is better than not moving, then right, and staying stagnant. So you got to keep going, you got to keep moving things forward. So it's funny you're saying that because I just said this to someone, so we're on the exact same page there. I love that. Okay, so tell us now, actually, let's now that we've heard sort of your story and how you got here, and I think the whole health journey part, we could actually talk about that for a long time, but I want to talk about cookies. But the health journey part of it really is so interesting because I think that there are so many people out there that struggle and they go to doctor after doctor after doctor to be told, oh, you need this medication or you need to stop doing this activity or you need to, and it's really something as simple as changing something in their lifestyle, like adding in meditation or changing, taking the gluten out of their diet. And that's not always the case. Sometimes things do need other types, help. And again, sometimes surgery is appropriate. But I think so many times people are failed by the medical system. And I feel like you were totally failed there. And thank God there was someone there to kind of guide you in another direction, but you really were failed there. And so I'm so happy that you found yourself in another direction. But anyway, that I could just talk to you about for so long, but I do really want to talk about the cookies. So let's talk a little bit more. So then you start with chocolate chip and then I know that you have many other SKUs now, right?
I do, yes. Right now I have 8 flavors, which is a lot.
Okay. So you have 8
So
flavors.
yeah, so after I launched the chocolate chip cookie, and that was a great success, I thought, okay, what's next? So about 2 months later, I launched my triple chocolate cookie. I've been a chocoholic my whole life. Chocolate is my very favorite food, especially dark chocolate. So I thought, let's make a super duper indulgent, rich chocolatey cookie. And so I launched the triple chocolate cookie. And then actually pretty soon after that, I was getting a lot of requests for two different options from my audience. So one of them was, can you make the chocolate chip cookie vegan?
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I don't do a ton of vegan baking because I'm not vegan myself. But I thought, so you want me to take out white flour, white sugar, and eggs and butter from a cookie and make it taste good, and it has to ship across the country and stay intact. I thought anybody who knows anything about baking, your four main ingredients are always butter, flour,
Yeah.
sugar, eggs. That is how you bake. And I thought, how do I take all four of those out of a cookie, still make it taste good, have the texture there, ability to ship across the country? So what I did was I landed on organic unsweetened applesauce
Mm-hmm.
of the egg.
Yeah.
So it's basically the same recipe as my chocolate chip cookies, but instead of the eggs, I just use the applesauce. And I've been absolutely thrilled with how the vegan cookies came out. I had my dad and my brother try them because I thought, well, they're going to be honest with me. And these guys eat meat all the time and they would never touch something that said vegan. And they said, we actually like these better than the regular chocolate chip cookies. So I knew I was onto something there. And then the other request that I was getting from day one was, we want brownies. And I thought,
Mm.
because to me, you can just go buy a gluten-free brownie mix at the store and like it's relatively easy to make at home.
Mm-hmm.
Egg,
Mm-hmm.
oil, and cookies a little bit more difficult. The brownies now outsell my cookies.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to have to try a brownie.
The brownies,
I'm more of a cookie girl. But I mean, I'm not going to turn away a brownie, so I might have to try a brownie.
yes, the brownies. And then also I kind of iterated and did a 2-in-1, and I do a brookie,
Oh,
which is a
yum.
brownie base. And then I drop chunks of cookie dough in it and bake it. So it's like 2-in-1. That's my personal favorite, is the brookie.
Oh, I might have to try that too. Oh, I love it. Okay, so where do you see things going right now? Like what's your vision for what's your vision for all of this?
So, my biggest goal in starting this business was to give a better option to everyone, but especially those of us with food allergies.
Mm-hmm.
I felt left out, disappointed, forgotten about so many times when I show up to holidays or get togethers or restaurants and everybody else can eat something and I can't. And that's not, I don't want anybody to have to go out of their way for me, but I hate that feeling. And I don't want that feeling, I especially think about kids with food allergies.
Mm-hmm.
You can't
Yeah, absolutely.
so my biggest reason for starting this was just to bring joy to people, and especially those of us who can't eat
Mm-hmm.
things. And then I thought, let's make it, really clean ingredients so that everybody can enjoy this and really feel great. So that's my biggest hope with my business. But if we're talking longer term goals, I would love to open a bakery here in Dallas someday.
Love it. I can totally see that. I can see it. I can see it. No, I really can. I absolutely can see that. That's amazing. Uh, Something I wanted to just ask you about the cookies. What did I just want to ask you? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. See, we'll edit that out. What was I just going to ask you? Perfect timing. My daughter's walking in though, so they can edit this little section out. Wait, something I was just going to ask you about. You know what? I want you to actually pick up because I feel like I interrupted you and I don't want to interrupt you there. I want you just to pick up the long-term vision. I can see myself with with the bakery in Dallas, just because I feel like I cut you off and I didn't want to cut you off with that thought. So, yeah, just pick up with that.
So this bakery in Dallas that I want to open, my favorite thing currently is getting to interact with customers. And just being an online business, I don't really get to do that other than the farmers market that I do here in Dallas every Saturday. So having a bakery where people can come in, give me feedback, tell me about their gluten-free stories, I think that would just really ignite my passion even further. So I think that's the next step for me, is to open a brick and mortar here in Dallas. And then I think it'd be really cool to open them in cities across America, because honestly, there is no iconic gluten-free bakery that's nationwide. There isn't. And I would love to.
I totally agree. I mean, because there's like a couple places here and there that you can go to get some gluten-free baked goods, but there isn't, like, again, that one place that you can go to in different cities and you know what you're going to get. And you know it's going to be delicious and you know it's going to work for everyone. So I totally agree. And I can absolutely see you with your own bakery. I just I do. I see it. I see that vision as well. That is really so good. But it's funny. You were saying how, the cookies, like one thing you started it, you wanted to bring joy to people, especially people that can't eat, gluten. But you know what? I just think of it as a healthier cookie. I was telling you that like I love, when I want to send people something for staying at their house or something like that, and I want to send something delicious. Obviously as a dietitian nutritionist, I never want to send something unhealthy, but I want to send something that people are going to think is yummy and delicious to have at home. And I always have trouble finding something. And I said, okay, this is what I'm going to be sending. This is delicious and yummy. And this is a perfect thing to send someone. But I don't even think of it as because it's gluten-free. To me, I don't think, oh, they're gluten-free. It's great. If someone is gluten-free, great, it works. But I think of it as it's just a healthier version of a cookie. It's these really, like, you use these clean organic ingredients and it's just a healthier version. And so if you're going to indulge, why not? You may as well, right, have delicious, clean ingredients while you're indulging. So
I completely agree with you. And that's why I don't like to lead with the fact like these are gluten free, because that immediately turns people away, because for years gluten free has tasted like dry cardboard. And so what I say is these are the best cookies ever, and they just so happen to be better for you, and gluten free and dairy free and refined sugar free, but these are something that truly everybody can enjoy. And honestly, about 50% of my customers aren't gluten free or dairy free. They just like them. So
right.
which is really cool. I get messages every day from all sorts of types of people. And probably the most rewarding has been people with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Something I wasn't expecting when I started this business, but when you're going through chemotherapy, it's recommended that you don't eat white sugar because cancer feeds off of sugar. And so because I use organic coconut sugar, they're able to enjoy my products. And just the thought of my cookies bringing joy to someone with cancer kind of makes me want to cry. And I think if I never make a dollar from this company, but I'm helping someone with cancer, then it's 100% worth it. It's just been incredibly humbling, the lives that these cookies have touched. Again, I never signed up for this thinking I'm going to help cancer patients. Like, what? No, I never thought that. But here I am. And it's just, it's single-handedly the most rewarding thing I've ever done, for sure.
Oh, I love that. I'm so excited for you. And you've really had such an incredible journey. And I'm so happy that you're putting these cookies out into the world because they are so delicious. But I'm really excited for you and your journey. But I'm just so happy that you healed yourself, that you figured out what was giving you this compartment syndrome and that you healed yourself. I mean, it's really an inspiring story as far as the health journey goes, but also, again, your entrepreneurial story is just, your business journey is really, I think, going to be inspiring to so many people. So, so happy you shared that with us today. In the show notes for all of you listening, I of course have a link to Sweet Addison, so you can check them out and try them yourself if you like. They are, as I said, so delicious. Thank you again so much for being here. I have one last question for you. What do you do on a daily basis to ignite your most nutritious life?
Okay, so I started at the beginning of 2025, I started a running streak where every day I run at least 1 mile, no days off. Every single day I run
Wow.
1 mile. And I thought, oh, this is going to be easy. I'm not really going to learn anything. I've been a runner, my whole life. I've run marathons, 1 mile. It's a joke, whatever. It has taught me a lot about discipline. And
Mm-hmm.
for instance, last night I got home from my commercial kitchen at 10:30. I hadn't eaten dinner yet and I hadn't done my 1 mile run. So I grabbed a quick bite, went down to the treadmill, ran my 1 mile and came back up. And every single time after I run, I just feel better. I feel more clear-headed. I feel more
Mm-hmm.
positive. And so to me, living my most nutritious life has been prioritizing my physical and mental health. And this run streak has really helped keep me in line with that discipline. And it's been monumental for me. And it's only been like 35 days now, but I highly recommend it.
It's really incredible. And I love that you did that 1 mile because it's doable. Like, even if you're traveling, even if you're on a flight all day, wherever you land, wherever you get, like, as long as you can find a treadmill or get outside, you can get in that 1 mile. I mean, even if you go really slow and it takes you 12 minutes or whatever, like, you can go really slow or you can go faster, but you can get it done and it's not going to take much time. And so no matter what, even if it's 10:30 at night, like you said, it's not like saying, oh, I got to go for a 3 mile run. It's like, I can just spend these next 10 minutes or probably in your case, 6 minutes, getting it done. You can get it in. So it's difficult to do it consistently, but it's like a challenge. You got to push yourself, but it's also manageable in the moment. So that's what I really love about it. I think it's a really, I think it's very, very cool that you gave yourself that goal. I have to come up with a streak. I like that. I like the concept of a streak. I don't know if it's going to be running 1 mile, but I like a streak. I like that. That's good.
Yeah. It keeps me accountable.
Amazing.
But it's such a great reminder that we really make time for what's important. And my physical health is very important to me. And so I need to carve out time every day to run and to prioritize my well-being, because as an entrepreneur, it'd be so easy to just ignore that aspect of my life and think, oh, I'm building a business, I don't have time to work out. But
yeah,
you really need to prioritize your health, because if you don't have your health, you can't run a business.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So it's been great. My other little tip is I eat dessert every night. Every single night I eat dessert. But for me, I eat very clean all day long. And then I think I'm going to have my little sweet treat tonight. And that's that. And that's all I need. So I don't feel the need to, have a cookie at 3 p.m. or, whatever, a donut in the morning. I just think, oh, tonight I'm going to eat a dessert, and that's that. So
do you have your cookies for dessert every night?
I have one of my brookies every night for dessert. Brookie or cookie. Sometimes I'll do half and half, but yes, it's always my own product. I am quite literally obsessed with my own brand.
Well, that's amazing. As you should be. You should be. I love it. All right. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you so much, Keri.